Let's say you still have an old DDR3 motherboard in your gaming rig. What would you think is the best possible upgrade you can make from your old DDR3 motherboard? This is probably the cheapest motherboard you can buy for your gaming rig. I bought this second-hand A32M Pro Max motherboard from AMD, and it also came with an additional second-hand 16 gig DDR4 gaming RAM. And you might ask, where's the second-hand CPU? The second-hand CPU I removed because it was an Athlon CPU. So I ended up buying this motherboard and RAM for a cheap price of $40. But you may be asking, what about the CPU? What about the extra RAM? And what about the CPU cooler? For about $312, I bought this liquid freezer Arctic cooler that supports both the AM5 and AM4 sockets, which is good for long-term upgradability. At the top I have this very dodgy cheap CPU that I got with it and a very dodgy RAM module. And the scariest part about this is this company actually closed down while I was ordering this, and I actually almost thought I got scammed. So let's open up these packets and see if I actually got scammed or if this is actually legit. But you look at that, it's actually identically what I ordered. A 32 gigabytes PNY memory module. So you might be asking, why didn't I get gaming RAM? Well, the thing is, with modern games and with the future and everything, games is gonna start using 32 gigabytes of RAM. So this would work perfectly with the 16 gigabytes second hand. So what about this? I mean, yes, see, this is supposed to be a Ryzen 5 5600X. I'm not sure why it didn't come in the official box. So I just hope this actually works and this doesn't turn out to be some sort of scam or something. Wow, okay. This is actually a Ryzen 5 5600X. So looking at the rest of the components, I've put the CPU just here in the corner where it's safe and clean and out of the way. So here we have thermal paste. For this build, you actually don't need to order this. I think you must not actually use this with this cooler, because I think the cooler comes with its own thermal paste. So let's see if it's actually true or not. Okay, so wow, this is the Arctic cooler, the latest version. So for the first part, if you want to install the CPU with this particular cooler, you need some of this bubble wrap just to keep everything in place. Nice. Some screws and stuff that I'm probably gonna need to install this cooler. And the brackets. And I assume I need to use the brackets because it's AMD. So yeah, that's out of the way. And here's the actual cooler. It goes on top of the CPU. First you need to install the brackets, I believe. And then here's the Arctic cooler. Wow, I'm so amazed this wasn't a scam, because so many people didn't get what they ordered. I'm not gonna name names or what place this was, but yeah, it's sad to say, because this company even disappeared from Google and Facebook. You can't even look up the address. I had to look on my invoice where the address was so that I can fetch my order. looks like another bracket that I can use. This is insane. This is actually, oh, this is for if you have an Intel CPU, I believe it's the LGA. I believe the black version doesn't have LEDs, which is fine because my PC doesn't really have LEDs. Like if you look at my PC, I have front fans and then I have top fans. I have like an Intel SSD if I can focus the camera. So yeah, and these fans I actually bought extra, you know, for about $10 a fan. So yeah, let's get going. You might be wondering, what else do I have for my PC? Well, I have this 3D printed stand for my graphics card that you could use to actually keep the graphics card up, which is quite amazing. And then you might ask, where is my M.2? Why don't I have an M.2? And the answer is, here's my M.2. Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit of a cheap out when it comes with computer components for myself. I don't really want to spend a lot of money. This is a good M.2 with read and write speeds of about 1.7 gigabytes per second. So for now, you can actually see I have a problem with my case. And that is that the screw on my motherboard is too far away for this small M.2. So what do? Well, you do a 3D printout, and I asked one of my friends to do a printout for me because I don't have a 3D printer. So I sent him the design that I want him to 3D print, and I asked him to do it for me. But this is actually a Kioxia M.2. I don't think it actually says so on it, because I think the front sticker actually came off somehow. But it's okay. This is a 256 gigabytes M.2. It just doesn't have DRAM, which is quite bad, but what it does is it uses your RAM for DRAM. So that is why it's actually good that I got extra RAM in my PC for this small M.2 to function at its best. So for now, let's start with the easy part and just install the CPU. So on this motherboard and any AMD motherboard, when you put in the CPU, you need to actually lift this up. Otherwise it's not gonna allow you to install the CPU properly. So this is how you install the CPU. You take it off this, and then according to the marks you carefully put it here. After you installed your Ryzen CPU, you need to remove the top fans, preferably if you have the 280mm model in this particular case, and then you have space for your liquid cooler for your CPU. So let me quickly remove this. It's easy, you just go here and then you remove the screws that's here. Here is one fan down. Remember to remove the power connector before removing the fans. And then I must just remove this other fan that's right here. This fan is also in the way for me. and this one, and I hope there's enough space for the cooler here. Nice, so I took out the free fans, and also I had to do some cutting, some cable ties that was keeping some of the fan connectors cables together. So now I must just get rid of those cables there and then fit the CPU cooler, and then I can do my wiring again. I also need to remove these brackets eventually, but let me just first mount the CPU cooler radiator against the top of my PC. Okay, this isn't ideal. I figured out my case is a bit too small for the cooler, but yeah, I managed to fit it with 3 screws, and I had to make it skew. So this is a very basic PC build. It's not ideal, but at least I managed to get the cooler in, and it's almost on top of the RAM. Actually, it is on top of the RAM, and then it's on top of my CPU power, but that's because my case is too small. But at least it's in. But I can feel a bit that it's loose here, but it's fine. It's still fine. If I put it straight up, it's fine. The next step that you would have to do is you have to put in these brackets. How you need to do it is first you need to remove the old brackets. And then remember, if you remove these screws, the back plate is going to come off. So you have to use like bubble wrap or something similar to keep this plate there, otherwise it will just fall off. And even if you use this sponge, it also falls off. So you have to use additional bubble wrap or get someone to help you to lift up the plate. To install this brackets, you have to first put this cylindrical part of the bracket first loose on it, and then you put the screws that comes with it on top, and then you screw it together like so. And then after that you have to apply the thermal paste and then the cooler part. You also need to use a connector cable, so you can choose one. This is the all-in-one that has 2 sides, or you can use the single connector that has multiple plugins if you want to configure it yourself. But for ease of installation, I'm just going to use the single connector, especially with my board that is very basic. I don't really have a lot of customization, so I'm going to use this single connector. The part that says CPU is what goes on the CPU, and this is what's going on your cooler itself. So you would have to connect this probably first, and then you connect the second part. If you pick up your cooler bit and you turn it around, you'll see this white area right there by my thumb. That's where you want to plug in your connectors. And that is how you install your CPU cooler. Important is you have to screw that 2 screws on both sides when you mount the CPU cooler, and this is the end result that you will get. Mounting the CPU cooler is probably the most difficult task, because you have to screw 2 screws on both sides, and you need to screw it at the same time on both sides to make it as easy as possible. In a game like Stalker 2, you will see that you get 40 FPS on 4K, which isn't bad considering this is a very old graphics card paired with the CPU. But you can increase your performance by going into the AMD control panel and enabling super resolution. After you enabled super resolution, you can go into your game and lower the resolution to 2K, if you're playing on 4K resolution. I need to note that if you play on 1080p or normal HD, you shouldn't have any performance issues with high intense games like Stalker 2. As you can see, I enabled super resolution and I'm getting 75 FPS inside the game using FSR and super resolution. If you want to see me stream games, you can follow my Twitch link that I will share in the video description. I have some past videos on Twitch where you can see 3D Mark benchmarks where I tested the CPU and graphics card combo.